Welcome to Real Flix Reviews. We're like a book club for people hate reading. This month's theme is childhood favorites, so James picked the movie Star Wars, made in 1977, and he brings you movie news at the end of the program. This week we have Jonathan Charney, James Stevens, Ryan Preston.
And the old guys here.
Right there.
There. Before we start with a movie review, I want to sincerely give our condolences to one of my favorite actors and comedians, Robin Williams. He was amazing. I remember watching him as a kid, Mork and Mindy, and then you got into like the movie Awakenings, and he just is sorely gonna miss him. Unfortunately, apparently he did take his own life, according to
Suspectedly so far.
the latest news reports.
Yeah, as we're recording this, it happened today as we're recording it. So I'm sure by the time this comes out, maybe more information. But as it stands now, yeah, that's how it looks.
And I personally, I thought he's one of my all-time favorite comedians, but I enjoyed his serious roles a lot better. Awakenings, Good Will Hunting, Dead Poets Society, The Fisher King. His serious roles to me were amazing.
I shoot, we all grew up with them. I don't think there was ever a guy that was more larger than life. You know what I mean? When it came to his character and the stuff that we know as kids. You know what I mean? The Mrs. Doubtfire,
like Aladdin,
world,
the genie.
Those things were so unique to his style. Nobody else had that. You know what I mean? And we come to find out later as we grew up, like, oh, he did a lot of cocaine. That's probably why he was all really hyper.
But even like, I think the best movie he ever did, far as to prove his genius, was the genie from Aladdin, because originally it wasn't made to be with all those characters, and he just kind of went on the fly, and they kind of let him just go with it.
Well, you know, since I'm the old guy here, I'll tell you about like when he came out in Mork and Mindy. As it was learned later, he never had a script. Never had a script. They just let him go, and and they had a plot. Plot was, this is the plot. You're on. He just did his stuff. He never had a script, and the funniest times for me with Robin Williams was always like the live show when he was on Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
And you can't contain Robin Williams.
No.
I would have tears running down my eyes, laughing so hard because of things it was incredible. The man could do anything.
And was a brilliant stand-up comic too.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people know him from his stand-up.
Right.
But I encourage everybody, go check out Robin Williams live at the Met, the Metropolitan Opera.
Right.
Was that the HBO? Because there was an HBO special he did during the 80s.
Yeah.
And then he had a live on Broadway also.
Yeah.
He did.
Weapons of Mass Destruction or something.
How we never won a Tony, I don't understand, because he did have two tours of duty on Broadway.
He didn't have a lot of as many awards as he should have.
Probably
honestly.
not, in retrospect.
Juilliard.
I do what? Yeah, he went to Juilliard too.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Juilliard School of Performing in New York.
Yeah,
That's such a really prestigious, place. Prima ballerinas go to that place.
Right.
My favorite episode.
The best of the best.
My favorite episode of Mork and Mindy's when he met himself. If you can find the episode, it's worth watching. At some point, I have a feeling we're going to do a Robin Williams month, just because the body of his work is simply amazing.
It is.
That's going to be a tough one.
So our sincere
We
condolences
should do like
here.
2 months of that.
Yeah.
Our sincere condolences to Robin Williams and his family and friends.
His children in particular. To them, I can't imagine the pain that you're going through losing your father.
Yeah.
We need transition music.
Especially to that one.
Yeah.
We really
The
need
world
transition.
just got a lot less funny today.
Seriously.
It did. You got it exactly right.
I guess.
Okay. So I'll lead into this one. This one was a tough one for me because I wasn't sure. This one is not actually my favorite Star Wars film. But I figured that if we were going to start with Star Wars, we might as well start with the first one. And this is the first one.
I think it's interesting that a movie that came out before you guys were born. It's not my favorite Star Wars movie. Well, I've been thinking about this a lot because I was trying to figure out how do I relate to you guys versus you guys when you saw this movie.
Because
you were like, what, 50?
Yeah, right.
It was in black and white when he originally saw it.
No. Come on. I was still old enough.
You were
25.
20-something.
25.
Oh, yeah, 20-something.
25. Anyway, the point is that
I think we
The
should
thing
read
about
the,
this
we should
movie,
read the description.
this is going to the Wayback Machine, so it's fine. But the thing about this movie was you had to experience this movie on a big screen for the very first time to get what this was all about.
And they didn't do that for us until like 98.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't put in the big screen until
Yeah,
like 97, 98.
And then they called it the special edition.
It was unfriggin' believable. The lightsabers, the lasers, the explosions, the things that he did in this movie. You look back at now and you watch it and you kind of go, God, that's cheesy as hell. But in 1977, it was cool because he did this thing.
So I want to read the description. I mean, everybody, of course, it's Star Wars, but
We were trying to avoid that.
Well, hey, it's kind of it's kind of the tradition
Because it's
here.
a typical wrong IMDb.
That's honestly why I love IMDb. So here's the description in all its glorious nature. Luke Skywalker joins forces with a Jedi Knight, a cocky pilot, a Wookiee, and 2 droids to save the universe from the Empire's world-destroying battle station.
I'm going to nominate this.
Which is also attempting to rescue Princess Leia from the evil Darth Vader.
This goes into the world's worst IMDb description of a movie
We've
ever.
had worse.
So if
Not
Lucas actually proposed this description to the studio, he would have been laughed out of there. And by the way, they did actually have to leave the studio and do it on their own.
Well,
he wrote it.
Well, here's the interesting thing.
well.
So I was doing some research. In 1977, this was the top-grossing film. It had a total budget of $11 million estimate.
Can you imagine that?
There were 5 movies over a $11 million budget, and there were 12 movies under the $11 million budget. That was the top-grossing film.
Can't do a commercial for $11 million now.
It's a Super Bowl, like it's a 30-second Super Bowl
It's
ad.
just incredible. I have one thing that I'll just share you with you guys. I actually have a little bit of history with this movie in that I had a good friend of mine. His name is Jay Teitzel. I don't know if Jay watches the show or not. I was thinking of having him call in, who was part of the production team that did the screen that you saw when the fighters were going in and the screen popped up over the eye and the electronics. He built that.
Well, didn't he also
That's cool.
Didn't he also do the targeting rectal
And he did-
and the guns when they were fighting?
And he
Millennium
did the
Falcon?
targeting. Right. That
That'll-
was his walk of fame. If you look at the titles, you have to wait almost to the very end. So he wasn't very high in the movie, but he was still in the movie. And
So you're talking about like the display
Yeah.
that came up on their screens, like
Yeah.
that old like asteroid style.
yeah, it looks really, really old now.
But,
yeah.
But back then, that
But
was
back
that
then,
was
he said
high-tech.
it was really something to get the screens to do what they did.
Yeah, I bet it was.
Yeah.
So
Well,
I
I gotta disagree with Rob for just a second though. I don't think it seemed cheesy at all. It might seem that way from an older perspective of like, okay, I saw this movie. It might not age well to a younger generation. I think it aged perfectly.
Yeah.
The story.
No,
story.
the
I don't think the
story-
story. I'm not talking about the story being
The story
cheesy.
is so good that it makes you buy into that world so much. You know what I mean? And not to mention, everything is tactile. You feel like you could reach out and pick everything up.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I want
And for
to.
$11 million, that's a miracle.
I guess if you, I'm going to stick in there, John. You're never going to get a part in here.
Hold on.
If you compare it to today's CGI and all that, obviously it looks. I guess I was going on the props. I mean, there were a couple animals looked like sponges were stuck on them, and there was
They
some
probably
things
did
for
have
that period
that.
of time. For that period of time, it was high tech. There's no doubt about it, and that's what I was talking about, not holding up. But the story and the enjoyment and the plot and what they did was way cool.
Well, I do want to disagree on one thing. I actually think the sets actually improve with age because the thing is Star Wars. If you want to read it, Lucas wanted the world to seem old, to seem kind of used. And the older we get away from that style of filmmaking, when they had
Right.
physical props, the better I actually think it works. I actually think this movie, besides some of the characters and like Tatooine, I actually think this movie ages really well.
Now, the reason why I picked this one is because this was the introduction that us as Star Wars fans got into that universe. We didn't get 1, 2, and 3 or
Right.
Thank
Maul
God.
and all those things. We got this. And I think for this movie, for its time, did more than any other movie had done for hardcore sci-fi
Oh, yeah.
since.
This was a revolutionary.
And
really
I
Big
even understood with the understanding that Star Trek had already been introduced.
Yeah.
But this one
failed miserably.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this one brought you in, and it had its own culture, its own religion, its own world, its own interaction with different species, and it did it in a way that got you wanting to be part of this universe.
I do have one question though, and this has to go to the old guy since he actually saw 2001: Space Odyssey in theaters, and the special effects wise, how was this compared to that? Because when 2001 came out, it was beyond revolutionary.
2001 was really not a movie of special effects. You got this wheel floating in space.
But it was the props.
You got this red eye. No, it's so totally different. I don't think
I agree with you on that one, Rob, because that one was... you
is good sci-fi.
You just basically had a set that they built around you. They didn't bring you into a whole new universe with different sets.
Exactly.
Because the sets were continually changing
this
in this one.
Well, no, I wasn't really talking on the universe level. I was really talking about on set design and all that. I mean, granted, this one has
totally different.
Star Wars has different effects because there's different places.
Well, the way that they did perspective in Star Wars, I think we could all remember at least the feeling of seeing the Star Destroyer fly over the top into the screen.
Right.
And, I mean, the Spaceballs did a joke on it where it just goes on forever, and at the end we bring nobody.
Right. Right.
But just watching that huge, because you have I think there's something in the background that kind of gives you the scale of it or something, but it's just enormous, and you have that feeling like, oh shit, that thing's huge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It immediately brings you into that place without, it's the use of camera tricks and old school filmmaking and trick photography were so beautifully used in this movie.
They really were.
They still hold up today.
Even the lightsabers, they actually had sound sticks that they were banging against each other in the battle sequences, and then they actually just colored it in on the actual film.
Yeah.
Which is something
that was
they
so
don't
cool.
do anymore.
That was so
and
cool.
They paint on it.
Yeah. Everybody wanted a lightsaber after that. Even I wanted one.
I still want one.
Yeah. See?
I have to admit, the vastness of this universe. I think even when you were on just Tatooine, it had the feeling that this universe was huge.
And the thing about
really
these movies is it just gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
The universe just keeps on expanding as you get into the movie.
More and more out there.
There are a few questions I have though. It's like, when they're using the Jedi mind trick versus one person, how come none of the other troopers ever go, "Hey, why are you doing that?"
Because they had such weak minds.
So it kind of does all of them at once.
And I gotta say, I like this character's little. Over the mind trick. The guy who played Obi-Wan originally, that was a smooth thing because he didn't really. I don't know if Lucas really went into it like this is how you do the mind trick.
Yeah.
I think he just kind of like winged it. That's what it kind of seems like.
Probably.
I think the waving of the hand was more of the shotgun effect, so it sort of spreads and catches anybody sort of in that vicinity.
There you go. Like he said.
Yeah. No, I do, however, love the effect, like the hand thing, because I actually think that adds it to it. Because if he just went like, just talk to him, I don't think it would have gotten. Yeah. It wouldn't have gotten over as well as.
On the very first movie, nobody would have gotten it. That little bit gave you okay. He's got some kind of power, and it's
he's a bitch.
Yeah. After movies after this, people would have understood that. Yeah.
Now the one thing I want to throw in is that I know John's been waiting for us to get into this, but the additions that they put into the film, I think, were they stick out way too much.
They do.
And that's the main problem that I have with them.
Yeah.
I don't actually think that the spaceport. I don't think that one stands
With
out
Jabba?
as much.
Mos Eisley?
Mos Eisley, because they made it bigger. I don't think that one's as much. Like Jabba the Hutt scene to me stuck out a lot. I mean, it was blaringly obvious that was a CGI.
I personally think Jabba the Hutt in this movie was a better Jabba the Hutt than in the other movies.
I agree.
And
the
apparently,
way he was done to scale, because in the other movies the scale of Jabba grew. I mean, it really.
And because I was going to say, apparently he went on some sort of food bender.
Yeah.
Because in the
He was
one
eating
movie is
everything.
huge.
Everybody, yeah, and that was a change in it. And I thought this was the best Jabba.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think this was a better Jabba. But those scenes did stick out to me, even the ones that when they're in the sand dunes and they're combing the combing the sand, Ryan.
I've seen Spaceballs too much for me.
Anyway, I always
Shit.
sorry.
Again, there was another effect that was so way cool. You went,
Yeah.
how the hell did they do that?
Yeah.
You know? And, geez, that's just some of the stuff is just, it too, I still loved it.
The other part I always thought was cool was like the difference in technology fires. You got to see the Star Destroyers versus the Millennium Falcon. You know, with the Millennium Falcon definitely had some age on it, and you saw this shiny new giant arrow-looking ship.
Empire.
That
Spearhead.
that was just massive. I mean, I love the difference in age and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the stormtroopers as well was a very interesting thing because you don't get that explained until
Until the
episode
new
2.
movies.
Yeah.
Episode 2.
By that time though, they were just the uniform too.
Yeah, and that's all they really were. And I gotta say there was a lot of laser fire for the lack of hitting anything, and that's always something that everybody points out. Is that one helmet you can hit everything, the other helmet you can't hit anything?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you hip fire everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reminds me of
Never
a comment
see
your brother
anybody-
made about
And
needing
nobody's
iron
aiming.
sights.
That's right. And I like
Yeah.
Skywalker's comment when he wore one of the stormtroopers' helmets. He says, "I can't see out of this thing." Well, no wonder they're missing. They can't see out of it.
Right.
Well, either he couldn't hit anything either, and he didn't have it towards the scene when he was
They're
flying
always-
across the bridge.
Yeah, it's because they're always going. They're always throwing the lasers at it. Yeah.
But for
Well,
its
that's how it
time,
works.
I think the only thing that ever bothered me as a kid was the bodies of his aunt and uncle.
Oh.
And the reason
was
why
pretty
that
grisly.
bothered me is because they look so fake to me as a kid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they look like your science teacher's skeleton that just got charcoal.
Melted a little bit, yeah.
Maybe. But
And that's always what
I kinda
stuck out
thought-
to me as a kid, and that's
what about
where
now,
I'm
though?
coming.
What about now?
It still bothers me.
See, it
but
doesn't
not as much.
I thought, watching it yesterday, I looked at it and I went, that's better than I thought it was. So it's funny how you think.
That one still sticks out to me to this day. But as far as the acting and everything, I think they did a fantastic job. I still think Mark Hamill for the character. I always thought he looked a little bit like an average Joe guy. And I think they did a great job in picking Mark Hamill to play that.
And I think there were relatively unknown actors too. I think there
Yeah,
was a cast
no.
that
Oh, they were
nobody
all
knew of.
new. I mean,
Yeah, Harrison Ford. I don't think he had done anything before this.
The
Not
one that
much.
added legitimacy to the movie, but didn't George Lucas have something to do with Corvette Summer?
Not that
I
know
don't
of.
think so. I know he did like THX 738 before this, American Graffiti. I don't know about.
Okay, I was confusing with that one.
Yeah, THX is a strange one.
It is kind of an odd movie, isn't it?
Um,
Hey, one of the other things that was really funny, if you guys caught this or not, but when Carrie Fisher was playing Princess Leia, she tried to, at one point in the movie, she tried to put a little like a British accent. She was
Yes.
like, Princess, and this dialect came out, and it was like, really? And then in the rest of the scene, she's
disappears.
normal. Yeah, she goes in and out of that accent. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, that is.
Subsequent movies, she just completely abandons it entirely.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I think you're thinking of American Graffiti, Ryan.
I was confusing them.
Okay.
The,
Sorry, I looked that up for you.
I do have a question for everybody. When it comes to the Death Star, what do they keep shooting in the holding areas? Are they shooting the lights?
What are you talking about?
And the Death Star in the holding cell area, they keep shooting shit in
Oh,
the red.
no. Those are little, like, wall lasers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're defensive lasers.
Because it keeps cutting to him over and over again. I always wonder, what the heck are you shooting? I've ever wondered since I was
Oh,
a
it
kid.
took me a second
Now
to
you
figure
know.
out what you're talking about. And for that annihilating weapon thing, the Death Star that shoots, I really wonder what those guys that are sitting in that room are doing.
the same
With
thing.
those weird little pointy helmets, like.
yeah.
What are they doing? What
And
were
how
they
can
doing
they
there? Were they trying to warm it up? Or
I
what
guess
was
in the
going on?
future you still needed guys to push buttons.
Yeah.
It's like
What
the
happened?
it's like the Jetsons. I just want to know how they see out of those helmets because they had like
I don't
an
know.
inch worth of.
They were pretty cool though.
I thought they were kind of droids or something the first time I saw them. Then I'm like, oh no, they're human. But
My first thought
humanoid.
was they're a modern day apothecary. With
I don't know. It's pretty funny looking, I thought. But that was cool.
Yeah.
But what I didn't get either is they're sitting in those big laser beams. They're right next to them. Like,
Yeah.
And it's strong enough to blow up a planet, and you're going to be standing next to these beams.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no railing on those sides.
I mean, come on.
yeah, I was
No, but
wondering
the-
if
well,
there
the
was
OSHA
like
didn't
radiation
exist in-
coming from it.
It's a good point. Yeah.
but they did have railings everywhere else.
And I doubt that entire Death Star was ADA approved.
Right.
I guarantee it wasn't.
Oh,
And I gotta go back to the Clerks
Knee knockers.
on that. The first Death Star, you didn't really kill any civilians, but there was actually legitimate people on the other one. I mean, like, you gotta have a big thing like that. Do you think the cafeteria worker in there that's feeding all these people? Do you think he really was, into this whole I'm gonna force choke everybody, thing? I don't think so. But that also did make me want to like seriously question somebody like that. Hold them up and just be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you gave me the wrong answer. Whack, you're
Right.
dead."
How much this movie has infected, and I use that term with as much love as possible.
Sure.
The pop culture-ness of everything. You know what I mean? You a fan or not, that you can't escape these movies. And the fact that 30 years and more have led to those kinds of discussions where people can still talk about this over and I mean, there's been documentaries made about people's love of Star Wars.
Right.
you got Mel Brooks to make a movie spoofing
Yeah.
it. I mean, that
Yeah.
right there's a testament to
I
it.
mean, but that's even small potatoes compared to the stuff that's been based on Star Wars
Oh, yeah.
subsequently. You know what I mean?
yeah,
The
the
amount of
fan-
fiction, it would take you a lifetime to read. Or go through. The amount of edits that there are to the original Star Wars movie, just
geez.
fan edits, is unreal. I mean, George Lucas gave the greatest sandbox we could ever play in, and spanning generations. You know what I mean? I watched this movie with the same kind of joy that I think Rob did when he saw it, even at 25.
Right. It was awesome.
I got to say, there's two things I learned from Star Wars. That one, apparently in the future, you're going to need trash compactors and carpets still exist. Those are the two things I got out of it going, apparently people still like carpeting.
Isn't this funny? Did you guys read the one bit of trivia on IMDb? It says that George Lucas was so sure the film would flop that instead of attending the premiere, he went on a holiday to Hawaii with his good friend Steven Spielberg, where they came up with the idea for Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I did know that.
Yes.
And that's something.
I thought that was an interesting thing because they basically talk about the stories that they're sitting out on the beach and just kind of oddballing, spitballing a bunch of ideas, and they came up with the Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is another fantastic film.
I know. Isn't that amazing?
That was another one that I was kind of tossing around when I was trying to decide if I wanted to go as Star Wars or Raiders of the Lost Ark, because they were both just such
they're good.
big, epic
I'm glad you
films.
went with this, though. I really am.
I was going to say another probably the breakout, the real stars of the movie is R2D2 and C3PO, because for one character that actually the face doesn't move, and one you got beeps, they actually emoted very well. I actually thought they were able to show emotions and a lot more than I think that you did beforehand.
Yeah, and then I always wanted to know, because that was another thing that I mentioned, is that they had languages, and even the droids had their own language.
Yes,
don't take that tone with me, or don't say that. It's kind of like...
Yeah, they had intonation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And somehow everybody was able to understand R2D2.
But yeah, so we're getting
Like,
a little bit...
what are you talking about?
We're getting long on this one. This one is not actually my standout favorite. The one that really blew me away was Return of the Jedi. That one was the one that I liked the best. But this one, even on that scale, I still got to give this one like a 5 for film.
For me, if you want to ask me, I as well agree. This is a 5 for me, and for its breakout of bringing the genre of science fiction and space and everything to all of us that have read it and grew up reading it with Asimov and some of the others. This movie is definitely a 5.
Ryan?
James.
Yeah.
Ask me why I'm giving this movie a 5.
Why are you giving this movie a 5?
Because I can't give
it
a
a
6.
6. I knew you were going to say that.
Wow.
It's just no way. I mean, the fact that most sci-fi surrounding this movie, you know what I mean, before and after and amongst, didn't have anywhere near the type of philosophy that George Lucas put into these films, which made the story so much better, which made it last for fucking ever.
Still,
So,
he's made a world that we can all fantasize about and maybe even pretend about a little bit in our own minds. And you go, wow, wouldn't that be cool?
I mean, just think of because I would even use this term as just to cover it as it is, even if it wasn't used in the movies, is Lucas built an empire just off of 3 movies, literally. And then he came out with another 3 and made even more. And then he came out with the Star Wars: The Clone Wars cartoon and made more.
Not to mention all the novels and whatnot that have been between that sort of
and the comic books.
They called the books generally.
There's even comic books.
They were called the expanded universe.
Yeah,
which now is no longer canon because Disney threw it out.
Right, but
they're great novels.
Is if you ever had a question about something that happened in Star Wars, just watching the original 3 movies, there's an answer for that question. I guarantee it.
There's a Star Wars wiki that you can go and look up everything you want to know about.
Star Wars.
This is the one thing that now that Disney, the mouse is on the dark side, those answers might be different, official canon, which is interesting.
Well, I think they just sort of started cherry picking the expanded universe a little bit, but they're planning on probably rewriting a little bit of those.
I bet they'll do a lot of it. But I actually have to agree with my other co-hosts, and holy crap, this has only happened 1 or 2 other times. I give it a 5 out of 5, just with the fact I think not a lot of movies from the 70s age this well. I mean, I actually think out of most movies that I loved, I think this is one of the top ones that aged this well at all. It's groundbreaking, and I'm not even the biggest Lucas fan, but the universe to me is a little bit more entertaining than Star Trek, which I love. But I give this a solid 5 out of 5.
Wow.
And the next one is,
actually, just so that people know, is if you go back in 1977 when this movie first came out, George Lucas was not worth anything.
No.
To this day, he is worth $5.2 billion.
And partly because he had the foresight to hang on to the merchandising rights.
Yes.
And the
most brilliant move ever.
And then
I guarantee you, I'm cutting you
off right now because we got to switch. We got switching topics to Band of Brothers. So we got
Ryan gets to start us off. He's the picker.
Yeah.
Band of.
Shit. I don't even remember.
Okay, well, I'll start.
And I will admit, I didn't watch it either.
Great preparation.
Sorry,
there.
folks.
Well, he's probably
Busy
probably finished the series now.
Yeah, I've been a few episodes ahead.
I've seen it all before. I don't know. Which
But,
one are we talking about?
We're talking about Baston. And this one,
That's a hard one to forget.
I gotta say this one, I like this one because of the fact that they take it from a medic's point of view.
Yeah. Oh man, dude. The entire.
So now that I've spurred Ryan's memory, he can take it from here.
As soon as you said Baston, I mean, like I said, that's a hard one to forget, and it follows the what's become known as the Battle of the Bulge.
Yes.
And the sort of revisionist history. It's always been maintained that Patton came in and saved the day, but then Easy Company, nobody from Easy Company ever acknowledged that. They're like, we did this. What are you talking about?
They froze their asses off.
Hey, Patton took credit for everything.
He did.
And that was Pat.
I gotta say though, this is the one scene. I mean, I always felt sorry for everybody in World War II because I've always been a big fan of the history. But when you actually look into this in the real life, this was horrifying. You had frostbite, ammo shortages, you had enemies. This was like an example of Schwartz's law right there because everything went wrong.
That, but when the mortar shells actually came down and hit, they blasted the trees.
Yes.
And the trees turned into shrapnel.
Right. Because they were so frozen.
It was so eerie watching that go off, seeing the ones in the distance and then seeing them get closer. I mean, that must have been insane to film that, man.
And they're not actually technically done with the Battle of the Bulge. They have another episode that they're going to be doing it too.
The worst part is they really couldn't light fires anyway either. So these guys were huddled under stuff in foxholes, huddled together with trying to keep warm with bad winter clothing. I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah. And to be a medic in this time is, I mean, there's one point in the episode where he's actually in one of the foxholes just sitting there just listening to medic being cried out over and over again, and he doesn't want to move. And I don't blame him. You know, you got to get up and go running to another one of your guys that you know is bleeding out, dying. You're not certain if you can even help him. You don't have the medical supplies. You probably don't even have morphine and kill his pain so that he doesn't die in agony.
He's a little bit better than apothecary at that point because he couldn't do anything.
No.
Besides wish him good luck.
Are some of the bravest individuals on planet Earth, man.
Yeah, put your head down while bullets are flying. And
I would actually think they're the craziest. I mean, I've met some crazy people in the military. I think field medics that take the cake. I got to give credit to people, especially back then when there really wasn't much they could do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the episode for next week? Do you know?
Episode 7.
Episode 7. Apparently there's no time.
I like it that way. It's easy. What?
So
I can figure it out.
So gonna do before we go to movie news. I want to let you know that we do have a website, a Facebook page, and a website.
And a website.
Please do us a favor. Is there a theme you'd want us to do? Are there movies you want us to watch? Do we suck like people the Wing Commander think we do? So let us know, please. Also, you can do is hit the donate button on the Old Guy Tech TV website and donate a couple of bucks. Mate, you know.
They just make fun of us, cast aspersions.
Damn, Mr. Misery.
Yeah.
He's apparently the Russian judge today.
I'm the Russian judge.
So this week's James's movie news and any news.
So since Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles came out on the 8th?
Yeah.
And today's the 11th. So they're actually saying that there's going to be Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 released June 3rd,
Search for more money.
2016. Now, I haven't even had time to see this movie, and they're already going to be making another one? Like, who says it's even good yet?
I've actually haven't heard anything bad about this movie.
Please don't make this a movie pick.
I will probably watch it. I can't say I'm going to be picking it as that, but this feels like a Transformers to me.
I do. I have to admit,
I haven't. Yeah.
I have to admit.
I mean, seriously.
I have to admit, I haven't heard anything about Megan Fox as an actress, and this is the one person I haven't heard anything good or bad about her, which actually surprises me.
She's the only one.
I don't know.
In a turtle costume.
I have. I heard, and this is again, this is third-hand criticism that I'm hearing. I plan on seeing this and making my own judgment. But I heard that they sort of overly sexualised her a little bit more than a couple people felt was really necessary.
So like pretty much every movie she's ever been in.
Of course, but I mean that was kind of my reaction. It's like, okay, well, it's Megan Fox, man. Why would you cast her and not?
Right.
I mean, that's probably the point.
Want to use her assets?
Yeah.
And yeah, not her acting skills, obviously.
Does she have any?
My point exactly.
I bet deep down she
Michael
does.
Bay knew, I know it's.
Well, Michael Bay's producing.
Deep down porno stars have acting ability.
Well, Michael Bay produced this, though. He wasn't the actual director.
Well, he still probably had a major hand in casting Megan Fox. I mean, they've been together for, what, 3-4...
Which, by the way, is funny because the last time I read, Michael Bay promised never to work with her again.
Well, I think that was sort of a...
publicity stunt.
Reaction isolated
he had to say something. All the criticism was coming out. That was his escape.
Yeah, she was like on the casting couch for you or something?
Exactly.
Well, it was a whole lot of, wow, you're going to let this little
girl
tell you that kind of shit, Michael Bay?
You already deleted the last thing I said.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it is kind of a Michael Bay movie, so I'm expecting plenty of explosions and use this dialogue and characters that don't really matter. So we'll see what ends up happening.
But
as long as they still act like teenagers, I'm fine.
Yeah, I'm still gonna see it. I mean, if they don't have any skateboards or they're not eating any pizza, it's over.
I better hear at least Dude or Excellent once. You know,
Cowabunga. That's
yes, that too.
It's not a movie until that's been said.
Yes, and better be lots of pizza consuming.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And as you can't tell, I mean, growing up in the early '90s, we're huge. I'm personally a big fan of the Turtles. He doesn't care, but he's old.
So
back for him it was Betty Boop and Popeye the Sailor Man.
They watch TV with. Check out the Nickelodeon's new television show of the Ninja Turtles. It's actually really funny.
Okay. I haven't seen it yet.
They
it's
kept
been
the
on
main
my
parts
list.
and they updated everything else, and I'm perfectly fine with it.
Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to let you know that this is a rare thing.
Why do you think there's gentlemen out there? You say ladies, but
Yes.
then you say gentlemen.
I'm assuming ladies, because there's got to be at least one guy who's forcing his woman to watch this. So,
And you call him a gentleman?
Okay, guys and dolls.
well, hey.
Dames, I don't care.
So, now that you interrupted my train of thought, next week's pick is Ryan's. So, what's your movie?
Okay, I'm reaching way back with this one. A movie that was out long before I was born, but somehow made it into my crawl when I was
So 1990.
3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or somewhere around there. And I've always loved this movie for a lot of different reasons. That movie is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea with Kirk Douglas.
Excellent movie.
Great movie.
Excellent movie.
1954. So again, reaching way back with this one.
Yeah. Even
Good
for me.
choice. It could have been his childhood.
Even for me.
And I gotta say, this is a rare thing. Everyone here gave Star Wars 1977 a 5 out of 5, which has only happened at least twice, 2 or 3 times.
Something like that.
It's because we couldn't do anything other than that.
Well, I could
That'd
probably
be
pick it
fun.
apart, but I really like this movie. So everybody here gave it a 5 out of 5. Next week's movie is 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Disney. And as always, we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Nah.
Thank you.